Welcome to the Powerful Podcast, where you will learn the marketing, strategies, and beliefs to grow your dream business. Totally possible, and I'm so excited to share this with you. I'm Almira Bardai, and I grew and scaled my own business from zero to multi-millions and sold the business. And now I'm here to teach you exactly how to grow and scale your business from 6 to 7 figures and more with ease, simplicity, joy, and fun with, of course, strategy, mindset, and marketing to take you to that next level. Welcome back to the Powerful Podcast. Now, we know last season had a lot of amazing conversations, and it was a wild ride for me to be hosting, and I've received all of your feedback, and thank you so much for all of your support. It's been so amazing, and I'm just so glad to be able to support entrepreneurs, women, men. I know there's been actually a lot of men listening, so it's been amazing. Thank you for your support. Today, this is a wild episode because it went from talking about business and breath work to so much more, including a fear of persecution. So stay tuned, listen in, because you want to get all of this. My guest today is Monika Krake. Monika is a certified breathwork facilitator, the founder of Head and Heart, and co-founder of Vancouver-based marketing agency, The Social Agency. She founded Head and Heart, a renowned wellness platform to offer inspiration, courses, and coaching to inspire people around the world to live and work in greater alignment. With her extensive background in business strategy and marketing, Monika is passionate about offering people practical pathways to transform their lives in the here and now. She has worked as an industry instructor at UBC and has served with several charitable organizations, including the Crisis Intervention and Suicide Prevention Center of BC, READ, Just Work, and Flavors of Hope. Breathwork is one of the most powerful tools available to connect us back into our bodies, into clarity, and into inner alignment. In each breathwork session with Monika, she creates a grounded space of presence to help you access the power of your own breath, to shift anything that's out of alignment, and explore what your higher self is calling you into. As a lifelong spiritual explorer, Monika's background includes training in multiple styles of breathwork, Reiki, and meditation. She's the founder of Head and Heart and co-founder at The Social Agency. Thank you so much for joining us today, Monika. I would love to dive into breath work, first of all. And I know we had yoga that came and then meditation that came and breath work. And I feel like breath work and nervous system healing, which are obviously two very key tools of healing the nervous system, I feel like they are the most trendy, if you will, in terms of people accessing it for healing, for transformation. But really, dive into breath work. Why breath work? The healing behind it. You are our expert here in the hot seat. So I'd love to know more. Why breath work? What does it do?
Thank you so much for that introduction. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. Yes, so breathwork is not at all new. It's been around for millennia. And in my, research into breathwork, it's been practiced by Indigenous communities around the world for physical healing and spiritual transformation. Like there are different Indigenous groups in Africa, South America, across Asia, where this practice of circular connected open mouth breathing was used ceremoniously, but also for physical healing.
Wow.
So I think it came over to North America more in the 60s. There's a man named Stan Groff who founded a community called Holotropic Breathwork, and he's kind of took it more into the mainstream awareness here in North America. And I believe that the reason why breathwork is really taking off is because it's such a simple, powerful tool to heal ourselves. And the idea that all healing is self-healing. And we have within ourselves, you don't have to take psychedelics. You don't have to pay for an expensive meditation retreat. You can just lay down in your living room, put on some music if you want, open your mouth, and begin to connect your breath in a circular pattern within your body. And what happens in a breathwork session when we breathe in this way, when we keep this pattern going, we start to change our internal landscape. So it's basically like the circular pattern of breath within the body creates like a luminous sphere
Mhm.
of energy within your body that helps your body to bring anything that's stuck energy, stuck emotions to the surface to be like healed and shifted.
Wow.
So it's just there's so many people will go into a breathwork session not really knowing what they're getting into, and then come away saying that was more powerful than like 10 years of therapy
Mhm.
because partly it's like the physical sensations of healing, and partly it's like tapping into our innate wisdom and the power of ourselves to heal that we contain within our own bodies to heal and transform our lives.
Wow. I love it. And I think, I come from a yoga background, and of course, there's, breath of fire and there's alternate nostril breathing. And at least as far as my understanding is that it was a type of breathing. And I don't think that we quite understood that it was actually breath work and changing our physiology, if you will. And now I've got friends who do pranayama, and it's interesting to see how their life has expanded as they have just, increased their energy. And as we see through meditation, connected with a quantum field. And I think that there's so much behind breath work. Yes, the healing, the transformation, but just in terms of our own easy expansion, if you will, it's almost like a life hack. And I'm fascinated by that because of this extraordinarily powerful transformation that happens. So, what does happen?
Well, so the style of breathwork that I guide people with is called connected breathwork. So you've experienced this. It's done in and out of an open mouth,
Mhm.
and you breathe continuously without a pause. So you're connecting your inhale into your exhale. There's more energy on your inhale. Your inhale's about twice as long. You're letting the exhale fall. With a facilitated session like that, what happens is the breath starts to pick up a current in the body. And you can start to feel that after 5, 10 minutes of breathing in this way. It's almost like your breath starts to breathe you. And people will feel the sensations of basically like oxygen revitalizing the cells of the body and traveling to places that may not have experienced that for a long time. And you'll feel like tingly sensations in your body. And, all sorts of shifts will start to come through that. And what the science shows that breathwork is linked to, like this type of breathwork is linked to improving people's sleep, reducing anxiety, reducing depression, or sorry, not depression, supporting people with tapping into greater clarity and creativity in their lives and work. There's countless benefits of this type of breath work. And one of the reasons that it is so powerful is because it's essentially a form of meditation. So, if you follow the work of people like Dr. Joe Dispenza and longtime meditators, you're changing your body's chemistry when
Mhm.
you are changing the state of like your brain, your patterns of thought, your electromagnetic field. When you begin and practice meditating, you learn to go beyond the overthinking mind. And that
Yeah.
is the thing that most of us struggle with the most. We get stuck in our patterns, stuck in our belief system, stuck in our fears. You'll think about things like your email list or a project at work, and suddenly your nervous system is completely shot.
Mhm.
Nothing's really changed. All it takes is thinking about that thing, and it brings you into a state of like overdrive and stress. And
Mhm.
so this is a problem that I think is major in our culture today. Everybody's taxed, everybody's overwhelmed. I think I saw a statistic this week that said like 70% of people have like chronic anxiety.
Wow.
So that's bad. I don't
Yeah.
know if, don't quote me on that, but yeah, we
Wow.
are not doing well because we are overstimulated. And so that's probably why, like to your first question, practices like meditation and breath work, they are life hacks. It's showing people how to get beyond the conditioning that's basically not serving us anymore. It's not serving us at all. And to shift into states of deeper rest
Mm.
inner clarity, to get back to our inner truth, our innate wisdom, so that instead of being, reacting to life all around us, we can begin to shift into being the creators and drivers of our reality. And that's essentially, it's usually like burnout or stress that leads most people into something like a breathwork
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question?
Oh my God. Yes, absolutely. Yes, it absolutely does answer that. And especially for emotional regulation. I actually did a program in the spring and it was about nervous system healing and emotional regulation, which I think is so wild because my generation, I'm 47, we were never taught to handle or even understand our feelings. And it's funny because you'd think it would be something that's natural and innate to us as humans, but we're not taught that. And now look, when I look at my son and he's in elementary school, they have breathing balls and they actually have tools in a grade 1 class. And in fact, they did emotional regulation in kindergarten, but now they've got breathing balls. And when they need to come to a moment, when they actually just need to calm down, there's breathing circles. And actually, the grade 3 curriculum that they've got is so focused on emotional and healing because they started to understand, the school did, that a lot of the kids were holding on to stuff from kindergarten and grade 1, like you hit me at this time or you stole my ball when. And so much of the grade 3 curriculum is focused on emotional healing and awareness, which I think is absolutely amazing. If I'd been taught anything about emotions or just, having this stiff upper lip when the bullies were calling me names because of my skin color, that didn't serve me. I'm dealing with that shit right now. And I don't know why I'm letting bullies' words have so much power over me because I logically understand that I'm the creator, I'm the powerful one. I can choose not to believe it. But they say that the body keeps the score. And
Mhm.
I feel like my organs are keeping the score. There's like last layer of attachment to these words or to the power that the bullies had on me. And it is just fascinating everything that our bodies do and also how we've been disconnected from them. And breath work brings us back to that, right? I was reading about our bodies have electrical nodes, if you will, that they actually fire up. And there's so much about the body that honestly has been erased from us. We have, I say it's because of the patriarchy. Please share your thoughts as to what it is. But especially as women, we've been disconnected. And as a human race, we've been disconnected from all of our own power, be it spiritual, physical, reconnection with our bodies. And so I love what you're doing and with breath work and honestly helping people connect back to themselves and find their wisdom.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I believe that's true. Like it's disconnection from the body that causes our greatest suffering because we're meant to be here as embodied human beings. Like this is a very earthly, tactile, sensual realm that we're living in. And if we're just living in our minds, we're like missing out on it. And then that's when I think a lot of suffering comes. When I did my very first breathwork session, it was, I can't remember how long ago, like 8 years ago, maybe. I was writing about breathwork for a magazine for Head Plus Heart and came across this facilitator, booked a session, and I really didn't expect anything because it's just breathing. So I was like, oh, I'll try this out. I'm going to write a review on this new practice, breathwork. This was like, yeah, 8 to 10 years ago. And I went in and experienced that first session. And it was like, I heard a voice in my head after like 30 minutes in. I was like, what is happening here?
Mhm.
Like, for the first time in like my life, I felt like I was dropped out of my overthinking mind. I'm a very type A person by nature, like
You can
just
be both.
constantly thinking, constantly planning, constantly have ideas. And probably just prone to like taking on a lot because I like that. I like operating like that. Well, I used to. And so in that session, I was like, what is happening? And I got out of my mind for the first time. I felt like I landed into like the belly of my body, like the pelvic floor, just like
Yeah.
right down into the roots of my body. And I heard like a voice, like I feel like it was the voice of God that was like, it's time to live in your body.
Oh my gosh.
It was very intense. I was like, I'm like, what is happening? I just did not expect that.
Yes. Oh my God. You talk about the belly, and I've heard so much that the universe is in our belly. Do you think that had anything to do with it? Tell me more about that.
I believe that within our bodies, I mean, you're familiar with this because you practice energy healing, but we have energetic centers in our body.
Mm,
The energetic center that is at our roots, which is like that area, like our sexual organs, the belly, the pelvic floor, it's connected with our sense of security,
mm,
beingness. Yeah, like our sense of security and groundedness. If
mhm.
we're living in our heads,
Uh,
we're not connected to that. We
mhm,
disconnect from almost like our one of our very important grounded power centers. And
mhm,
so, actually, this is one of the things about breath work that is so powerful. It helps you to change the way you breathe. You've
mm.
maybe heard the expression, the way you breathe is the way you live. Well, in our culture, a lot of people are breathing into the upper respiratory center only, like chest up, like we're over breathing almost because like we are anxious. And so, in a breathwork session, one of the beautiful benefits is that it's an invitation to bring your breath deep into the body, deep into the belly, and to retrain yourself, which you then carry out into your life after the session.
Yeah.
And you can feel that, like even just taking a couple breaths right now, if you breathe deeply into your belly, you instantly feel like you're getting pulled down to earth
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
connected with your sense of being grounded and rooted here and now. It's very presencing.
Yes. I feel like I'm
So,
connected to the cosmos all of a sudden. So yes, I feel my feet, they're so planted, but I feel like I'm connected to the cosmos when I can get into my whole body. And when you say embodiment, because that's another word that's being used so much, what is
yeah.
embodiment?
Well, I think it's a way of saying like to live in your body.
Mm,
A lot of us, I mean, are coming across a lot of information all day, every day. So you
mm,
may know a lot of stuff. You may know all about, um, you know, being like, the words like divine feminine and all that kind of stuff that's all over the place. People may read a lot of books and know a lot of stuff, but if you're not living it, then
mm.
it's not your embodied wisdom. So I feel like embodiment is like when you go from like knowing something to really living something and it's your lived reality.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And I was speaking with a friend of mine the other day about just really being in our feminine. And I think that there's this concept is that you have to do so much work, or it's another thing you have to do. And I said, why don't you just light a candle while you drink coffee out of your favorite mug? And to her, that was mind blowing because we're not taught or allowed to rest. And it goes back to that concept of we never use the good china for every day, or how many women don't light the nice candle. That one blows my mind. We're always saving the nice candle. And I've actually started to use mine because I opened one of my drawers and I'm like, the fuck am I doing? There's so many nice candles in here. And why am I not using a single one? In fact, they're all for decoration. Why? And so I kind of had to step back and why is it always for the nice occasions or the nice towels? And I recently bought nice towels for all of my bathrooms in my house because that should be the everyday of beauty and luxury and feeling good. And that has it hasn't even it's almost like there's this extraordinary knowledge from all of our ancestral mothers or divine or goddesses or priestesses, and it hasn't been handed down like this tradition of beauty or this tradition of sensuality and feltness that is just it's not there. And I'm having so much fun rediscovering this, but again, women have been taught to be powerful wearing shoulder padded blazers, and there's so much power in this softness and in the luxury of being a woman.
It's so true. You're totally speaking to me right now because my word for 2025 is beauty.
Oh,
And I every year I do like all these different
yep,
vision workshops, but I'm like
yep.
this year The things that bring me so much joy are just everything, beautiful pottery, beautiful music, art, culture, like experiencing other people's cultures.
Yes.
There's so much beauty in this world.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that makes me feel like the most alive.
Yes.
And when you were speaking about earlier, like how, people struggle with, just prioritizing that or living that, like they're saving the good stuff for later kind of vibes. I believe that's partly because we are in such a toxic productivity culture. As much as people are becoming more and more aware, we see them all the time. And through like my platform, Head Plus Heart, I see a lot of people doing a lot more spiritual business type stuff. Most of our culture is deeply entrenched in those patterns of toxic productivity where it's more about self-sacrifice in order to like get ahead. That's one of the reasons why like I'm so excited about weaving practices like meditation and breath work into, like you said, day-to-day life and ritual, and also into the world of work.
Yes.
And
Yes.
now changing those cultures and helping, because even like, just to say one more thing on that, I meet a lot of healers, day to day through Head Plus Heart and some of my clients, and a lot of them will talk about, just the types of clients that they're seeing. And a common theme is that people come for healing because of they have to recover from like toxic work cultures where they're constantly stressed and overwhelmed and expected to meet the demands of the people around them and the unrealistic deadlines. And there's a lack of feeling of being appreciated and all these things that become quite traumatizing. Where like, whether it's like surgeons or physicians or people in business or any, across all industries, people end up with this completely dysregulated system that they then have to go and for healing support to unwind those toxic patterns in their bodies. And I just feel like we're entering into a time where there's a real opportunity for people to change the way that we're doing our business.
Yes. You said this really great sentence when we were speaking before is deconditioning toxic work approach to business. And
Mhm.
I just, that resonates with me so much because we are taught to hustle. And especially I come from a PR background, as do you,
Yeah.
the constant working. And my first real PR agency job was in a crisis communications agency. And you just went and you did, and you didn't ask questions. And while it was fabulous, that a body can only sustain that for so long. Although I do love PR for and agency life for the diversity of clients and stuff. But the skin between my toes peeled because we always had to wear pantyhose. Again, this was a while ago. But yeah, people are like, "What's pantyhose?" I'm like, "Bite me." That's actually what it is. But what we did to our bodies, but also what's still happening. And I just find it so funny that in a world of yoga and meditation and breath work, it's almost like we're still taking a vacation as we do those things because the world is getting busier and busier. And even in a world of conveniences like Instacart or DoorDash, we are still deconditioning from a toxic work. It's still toxic work. And we're still seeing burnout. We're still seeing the effects of such a busy society. And it's amazing how more people are not tuning into themselves or even have the capacity to tune in themselves because they're so overloaded and overthinking.
Yeah, it's so true. I watched this master class by this woman who she teaches on psychedelics
Mm,
and AI. So it was this interesting. I was like, oh, what's this? And her name is Laura John. So I listened to this master class. And then so she's talking about the rise of AI and she's comparing it to psychedelics and just how with plant medicine and like the mycelium network, it's almost like a network of intelligence
mm,
that in a plant medicine ceremony is available to support our bodies and becoming aware of what needs to heal. And then kind of comparing that with like the whole world of AI where it's growing so rapidly. We don't exactly know what's going to happen. There is this intelligence emerging that not many people really understand. And she had this great line where she said, our biologies can't handle this level of like change.
Wow.
Like
Oh my
the
gosh.
human bio, so many people are checking out
Yeah.
because we just biologically are not designed to like
It
keep up with this level of
yes,
information, right?
does. Oh
Which
my gosh.
totally made sense to me
Yeah.
because I kind of feel like that sums up the state of most people. And like the name of your podcast, powerful. It's like, what does it mean to really be powerful? It's not just getting like, it's not just coping with life, right?
Yeah.
Um,
It's about being the creator. And then, okay, let's just do our segue because this is the piece that you and I are so excited about. So, Monica and I were getting prepared for this podcast and talking about healing, being healers. There's a book that I'm terrified to read called Heal the Witch Wound, which I know that beneath it all, I'm a very powerful healer. And Monica already is a very powerful healer. And we were talking about source and God and how we're afraid to talk about God. And I know this is a total 360 or 180, whatever it might be from the conversation, but really it's not because it points to the power of the body and of ourselves as the creators of our life, which is something that we connect to through breath work. But we're both afraid to talk about God or to be quote unquote super spiritual for fear of persecution or ostracization from our own friends. And Monica and I have always had a connection just from the moment actually when I joined her email list. There was just something in her. I could feel her energy through her emails. I could feel Monica through it. And so we've continued to stay in touch over email for a couple of years, and I've done some of her courses as well. But there is such a fear for me about not understanding how powerful I am, but knowing how powerful I am, but fear of death, for persecution, fear of being ostracized by my family. You know, we were talking about how I listen to worship music, which I've actually, this is the first time I've really admitted to anybody. In fact, I don't think I've actually said it to anybody outside my circle. There's actually two girlfriends who we went to Danny Morell with. But let's talk about that fear. That fuck me, this is scary. Because that's what it sums up to.
the fear of like actually saying what you're here to be and do.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I feel like I can, we talked about this, like you said, right before we recorded, before you hit record. Um, I think it's related to, like you said, the patriarchy and how women, but maybe even men too, are
Mm.
raised where, but women, I feel like more so to measure our value based on relationships with other people. I
Ooh.
believe that really kind of ends up causing these kind of like undercurrents of codependency. You can see that with how a lot of, if you compare like a woman business leader with a man, the women are way more prone to over deliver,
Yeah.
to be more available to their clients, to do all those extra things that actually do lead to kind of burnout.
Yeah.
Um, and have a harder time setting boundaries in general. And I feel like it's because of that deeply ingrained pattern of almost like getting enmeshed relationally that
Mhm.
is draining like our power. It's very
Yeah.
draining of your sense of power and what does it really take to shift that,
I've noticed my own nervous system. So my partner and I are no longer together. We have a child together. And I noticed my income dropped when we were no longer together because I've realized that my nervous system as a woman is regulated to a man's because and I couldn't believe it. The man is the provider. And now that I, as a woman, don't have that male figure in my life, it was wild to see that pattern and that I, well, how much money should I be making? I'm this, the sole breadwinner. There's no man. And it started to lead me down this whole spiral of being a woman, being a matriarch, afraid of my own power. What if I get hurt? And it started this very deep unraveling or deconditioning about a woman's place in society, and then also what it meant to be a woman connected. And I'm not saying that I've got the best relationship with source. I'm still uncovering that one again because of fear and persecution and being called a witch and stuff like that. But I'm still uncovering my relationship with God and with Source. But it's like I'm doing it in secret, absolutely doing it in secret, afraid to talk about it. Because no matter how much we're talking about it in the world, it's so ingrained that we are to be feared, or we will be feared because of our powers, but also to fear our powers.
Yeah, you know that quote that it's we're more afraid of our own
Yes.
success than we are of failure.
Yep.
I totally feel like that's true. And back to what you were saying earlier about like just coming out of the closet with your almost like language, your true language around like God, Jesus, whatever words that are maybe like less, I don't know, cool and
Yeah.
word
Yeah. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
say.
Totally. Like this
But
is just weird.
just kind of gets to that weird and uncomfortable and like there's a lot of baggage around some words, but like I was joking around, I'm in this like little mastermind group with just two friends and said to them that what would my tagline really be is like just helping you connect with God.
Yeah.
And that is what I believe is like what I'm doing, like whether it's in business or a private breathwork session, because like my deepest belief is that when we really do come into presence and move beyond our body and our minds, we open ourselves up to guidance from the realm of God, the Holy Spirit. And that's what, in ways I don't totally understand, and I don't think really anybody does,
Yeah.
but you experience it. Like profound healings and shifts can happen, profound healings. Like I've had people come in and heal from like chronic pain, like I was telling you earlier, and trauma and like so many deeply ingrained patterns in their body. And it's almost like mini miracles. And you know, you look at these different meditation retreats from people like Dr. Joe Dispenza, and the same things are happening. People are healing. And because you're changing your biology, when you learn how to meditate and do breath work, you're changing your biology.
Mhm.
And so that's where we start to enter into the crossover between the mystical and science. Like it's all the same thing.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just feel like it is uncomfortable to have these conversations and claim those words,
Yes.
but it's good. Like we have to.
Yes. We disconnected from that, and it shouldn't be a bad connotation. I was saying again when we were talking before this that I did a session with a girlfriend of mine. She's deep intuitive. And I was saying, I'm so connected to Jesus. And it was so weird because I'm Muslim and I've never read the Bible. And, I follow I'm a smiley Muslim, which is very modern Muslim is the best way to sum it up. And so I haven't read any other religious text and stuff. So Jesus, even though he's a prophet of Islam, I've never gone down that route, if you will. And all of a sudden, I'm finding deep connection to Mary Magdalene or to Jesus. And I understand that this is what's happening in the world. As the feminine rises, this is happening. But it still feels so weird and strange. Like if you'd asked me a few years ago, how do you feel about Source, Jesus, and Mary Magdalene? I would have said, what are you talking about? And not because I was ignorant, but this, whatever is happening, is so far out of my realm of what I thought my life would look like or turn out to be. And I know my life is going to take this very, very drastic turn as, my soul calls. I just, like I said, I'm not ready to go there yet because it feels very, very scary. And I just have to, as opposed to my usual, just like go through it. I need to do this one very, very slowly so that my own nervous system doesn't crash, I guess, or my own brain doesn't overthink me out of this. But there's definitely a feeling of lack of safety as I do this. So then I just keep reminding myself there's actually nothing to fear. I just need to heal my nervous system. I just need to do breath work. I just need to find calm. It's completely safe. But the amount of preparation or calm that I need to find in myself to continue to explore this is wild. And it honestly, it is because of patriarchy and from organized religion, if you will, that has deemed anything other than organized religion to be sinful. Even though I don't believe going outside organized religion is sinful. My body and my past lives, whatever it might be, there are some safety mechanisms kicking in.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, that's your deeper wisdom speaking, because even going through like a major life transition, like a life partnership ending,
Mhm.
starting new work, those are some of the biggest things that we go through in life. Leaving
Mm.
the security of your job and starting something new, those are incredibly dysregulating. So it does take time. People don't like to talk about it. Everything's wrapped up in a nice bow. Like I've moved on. And now I'm making multiple six figures in my new job. It only took me 6 weeks, but it's like that's
Yeah.
not that's not how it works. Like we usually need a lot more time. And that's like the wisdom of aligning with your body and with your nervous system and listening to what you need and taking the time you need. I have a client right now who does um, this really cool offer that she's launching with acupuncture and energy healing, and she brings that into corporate spaces.
Mm.
And she works with a lot of physicians and surgeons and people that are in a really like high demand job. And she was telling me how she considers what she does slow medicine.
Mm.
And I loved that word so much. I'm like, oh, that's just what everybody needs right now.
Yeah.
You
Oh my
know?
gosh. I know one of my own spiritual teachers, she also, I mean, she's a healer. That's her first calling and her biggest calling. And then she also leads courses and, I mean, I did one of her programs, Becoming a Divine Queen. And again, it's something that you really can't talk about it. I feel like I have a closet life, if you will. But she was determining what her pricing would be for inner child healing and the healings that she does. And so she was trying to figure out the pricing and stuff. And her husband was, you transform people's lives from the inside out. She does a lot of inner child healing and people just the lives that they're able to lead because of her healing. And her husband's like, that's priceless. It is not in the hundred, I'm going to charge $100 a session. He's like, what is the cost of you transforming someone's life and what does that look like? And it's so true because I do believe healers are underpaid. Don't even get me started about that one, like $100 Reiki session or something. This goes beyond that. And I think the value of what the healings deliver and to support people as they transform their lives, like it's not a commodity, it is a full transformation. But the fear of charging or even just seeing ourselves for the value that we do provide, there's so much beyond that. And again, it's not just like the soft medicine, as you say, is the big medicine. It is
Mhm.
huge. It really is. And I think that needs to take a place in our society as well. And it really hasn't gotten there yet. And even just as something as simple as vagus nerve healing for the
Mhm.
nervous system. And
Mhm.
it's funny because I bought a couple of those courses and one of them was an app and stuff. And I was just like, so you just charged me $47 to learn how to breathe and to massage my shoulders because that's really what it is. But we have no idea how to calm our bodies. We have no idea how to signal safety to our bodies. It is mind-blowing that we literally have the ability to heal ourselves. We are the creators. What is that quote? It's about we are the drop in the ocean and the ocean itself in the drop. That itself, we are the creator. We are part of consciousness. We actually know how to heal ourselves. But we become so disconnected from it that we need to be taught again how to do that. Wow.
Yeah, I know. And that's where it gets really exciting because maybe that's what's happening right now globally is that everyone needs to reach like a bit of a breaking point
Mm,
in order to reach our next level of evolution. Like, I really do believe that's happening. At least maybe there's two tracks of people, one that are going this way and one
yeah.
that are going this way. But it does feel like there's a large amount of people who are taking the leap into a next level of consciousness who have reached that state of complete rock bottom burnout and are like, fuck this. I am not going to live like that anymore. I'm going to put all of my intention into a new and to try and to exploring what it's like to be actually alive. And then that'll lead you to practices like breathwork, practices like meditation, where you learn to go beyond the conditioning
Yes.
of your current reality and basically like heal yourself into a much greater reality.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh my gosh. You heard it first. Heal yourself into a greater reality because that's what it is. I'm writing down all of these notes for the show notes, and this one is going to be in there. Clear yourself for a greater reality. I love it.
Yeah, because we can only do that for ourselves as much as, you know, it's wonderful to find a practitioner that unlocks some wisdom for you or that speaks a truth that you're able to hear in a new way.
Yeah.
Ultimately, nobody's going to change the things that trigger you or
Yes.
meet, you know, we have to meet all of those patterns within ourselves in order to shift them. And so for me, like breath work, obviously, preach here, but that's the thing that's helped me the most.
Yeah.
And for some, it's meditation, for some, it's movement, you
Yeah.
know?
It's funny how, in order to go back to spirituality, we need to heal all that pain. And there's a part of me that says, does that pain even exist because it's caused? I mean, this is all Eckhart Tolle, which is
Yeah.
that it's our mind that causes us to suffer. There actually is no suffering, and we just need to change our level of consciousness, and go straight to that spiritual, which again, spiritual bypassing. But we do spend so much of our time, or at least the wellness industry or the coaching industry has been teaching us that there's so much of ourselves to be healed. And there comes a point when you say, there's so much to heal that I just don't want to do it anymore, and I just want to raise my vibration, or I want the mystical experience. And I think that's another thing that I'm starting to see is that people are tired of healing, and it is so much like the burnout from the healing and from the personal development is it's real, it's true. And I think people are coming to this point where they're just having the pause and just saying, I don't care what other shit is there anymore. I just want the mystical experience, and I choose to do that.
Yeah. And kind of almost like tapping into allowing those frequencies, higher frequencies to support you in kind of elevating out of some of the density of the past.
Yeah.
I believe like we kind of need both. There's
Yep.
times in our life where, yeah, you have to have a little bit of an understanding. Sometimes it requires some making amends. There's some like things that
Mhm.
need to happen in your life to actually like do some of that shadow work and healing. But it doesn't help to constantly fixate
Yeah.
on the limiting beliefs of your mind
Yeah.
because that all that does is fuel the energy of those same thought patterns and create deeper patterns in your body. So that's where you're right. It makes more sense and it's more supportive to tap into practices that are elevating. And that's where people will come into their meditation or breath work with intentions of like focusing on gratitude, you know, helping your body tap into some of those more elevated states of gratitude, love, appreciation, like to support your body and like and shifting, you
Yeah.
know, and raising your consciousness that way, which is fun.
Yes. My spiritual teacher often says, she says, the way to get rid of darkness is not to clear the darkness, it's to let in the light. And
That
so
in
I think we have forgotten to, or we're not quite understanding the power of tapping into the lightness, the joy, the things that make us happy, the heart. And it's been all about healing the darkness, when in fact, you can't heal the darkness by continuing to dig into it, because as you just said, we're just recreating those patterns. And so you have to let in the light, and the light, and it's okay to let in the light. It is okay to forgive now. Otherwise, you're giving yourself your own raw wounds. And it's giving ourselves the permission to exist in a higher vibration without, yes, I love what you say about making amends and doing all of that work. But now it's time to let in the light. It's time to breathe. I feel like 2025, at least for me, feels lighter already. There's been so much excavating that it's just time to let in that light, live in that beauty, live in that luxury, enjoy that beautiful cup of tea by a candle, and starting to live in the ever present, beautiful moment for the moment that it is to feel alive. Because that is what it's all about, is those moments of feeling alive.
I'm with you 100%. I mean, that's why my word is beauty this year.
I love
I feel like a lot of people had like 2024 was a little denser.
that.
It was unexpectedly hard for a lot of people. And yeah, it does seem like this year is opening up some new portals to like new levels of awareness, joy, fun, lightness, ease.
Yeah.
I'm feeling that.
Yeah.
I see what happens, but that is the vibe I'm feeling so
Oh my
far.
God. I love it. Oh my God. I loved our conversation. Is there anything else you want to share as we wrap?
I guess, like, if anybody is curious about breathwork, they
Mm.
can visit headplusheart.com and there's a free guided breathwork for alignment meditation when you visit the site.
Amazing.
And yeah, I just would say, like, if anyone's curious about breath work, about exploring maybe how to weave breath work into tapping into more creativity, clarity, and expansion in your business, any topics related to that, I'd love to chat and support.
And we're going to include all of your details, including links to Head Plus Heart. We're going to include it in the show notes. And actually, one thing that I did want to end on is that Monika does have a mastermind, the business activation. And this episode will be in January. And currently, as we tape this in early January, there is one spot left, but she will likely be opening it up in maybe September again. But either way, you can find out all about Monika's amazing programs. And honestly, her newsletter. Get on to Head Plus Heart newsletter. She does such a beautiful job of curating all of these amazing events or healings, or this healer is doing whatever, and it's literally is just a wealth of knowledge, and she's such a beautiful writer. I love receiving the newsletter in my inbox. And there's a lot of newsletters I have that I read just to have the headline, right? Head Plus Heart is never that. I devour the whole thing right away. I'm usually actually the first person, like as soon as she sends it, I'm literally opening it. So thank you for all that you do. You are such a beautiful guide, and you are doing amazing, amazing things. So thank you so much for being with us today. And for anybody else, if you want to get in touch with Monika, like I said, her details will be in the show notes. But thank you for all that you do. You are a shining bright star.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Powerful Podcast. I've so enjoyed sharing all of my insights, all my mistakes, all of my learnings as I grew and scaled my business from 6 to 7 figures. If you enjoyed this, please leave us a review. And then I'll send you back my top 3 ways to make $10,000. And I tell you, they're super easy, super creative, and super easy for you to implement. So please drop us the review, send it over, and we will send you back with my top 3 ways to make $10,000.